I'm just curious, why do so many people involved with these federal cases and these evil people, why is there so much immunity on the table? If you're a victim, you are a victim, right? And again, a victim these days for me can be very, very subjective, right? Just because, again, everything boils down to choice and free will. Did the victim have choice and free will? And if they didn't, what is the element of choice that they did not have that made them have to do what they did? And I'm looking at Willie D, and he's talking about how J Lo got she removed herself from Diddy. They dated for a couple of years. That's all she needed, right, to understand what she was dealing with, and she got out of Dodge, right? Cassie had that same option, but yet she herself wanted to maintain a certain financial lifestyle. Same thing with Don Richard. Somebody, the defense asked her, well, if Diddy threatened you and then you saw him beating, Cassie, why is it that you reached out to him to work with him again? And see, this is where some of these people on the mic, they're talking about, oh, I was a victim of this guy. I witnessed X, Y, and Z, right? You didn't report any crimes. You didn't report any crimes. It's arguable that at least people like Cassie were involved in many degrees. And again, people can make all kinds of excuses for other people. They were desperate. They really wanted fame. They really wanted this. And that's why they, made the choice. But it's like going into a job interview and the hiring manager is a shitty ass person. They put that on the table. The hiring team, they're shitty people, right? So you know what you're going to possibly be getting into if you accept that job. I've walked away from several jobs just because the interviewers turned me off. I've walked away from money because I care more about my peace of mind than money. God is going to provide. But at the same time, when you playing in the devil's playground, you're going to get demonized. You're going to get traumatized. And a lot of these people knew what it was before they got involved with Diddy. Diddy has always been the same type of guy. So anybody taking up or making the executive decision to be involved with this guy, they already know what it is. You can make assumptions all you want to, but there are certain characters or people that if that you can tell right now we're not going to align. But when you have a thirst for money, if you're an ambitious person, and there's nothing wrong with ambition, but how do you pursue your ambition? What are you willing to do for your ambition? This is really the question that I have about some of these people who were involved with Diddy, claiming that they're victims. And then again, it's just like Tory Lane. How did Kelsey walk out of that with immunity? She wasn't convicted or accused of a crime. So why are we just putting immunity on the table for these so-called victims? It's an interesting, again, this conversation is interesting. Everybody's going to have their opinion about it. And even down to some of this organized crime stuff. Even if Diddy is the snake, he is the head of the enterprise, you still have to have willing participants to be involved in this enterprise. There are several people on the mic talking about how even his former assistants, he quit his job after he was put in a compromising situation. So as opposed to being a sucker for punishment, right, this dude removed himself from the situation and stopped associating and working with Diddy's company. These are the conversations that I think a lot of people are missing in all of this. Yeah, he's a horrible, terrible person. But even down to this sex trafficking and drugs at parties and stuff, do you know how many people would be charged with RICOs, organized crimes, sex trafficking and stuff, if everybody was going to get hit with having illicit sex and drugs at a party, right? Even if it was organized, These freak offs, according to Cassie, these people had costumes. They were in character. There was orchestration of what people were going to be doing, how they were going to be. So it was more than just people coming together and just getting chopped and screwed. These people were in costume, they were in roles. It was almost like these people were involved with creating private porn. How public some of that was is left to debate, but that's what it just boils down to me. It doesn't boil down to me, organized crime. And even down to the bribery, this guy saw Diddy, beating Cassie, and he tried to bribe, Diddy tried to bribe the guy into not saying anything. That doesn't necessarily scream organized crime. It just says that this guy has enough money to shut people up. And if they're willing to take it, then they really don't have anything to say about anything. Some of these people did refuse to take the money. They refused to let him pay them off for ethics, morality reason, right? To not say that they witnessed him beating her. But again, a lot of these people are co-signing Diddy's violence, his tendencies, right? But at the same time, I don't really see a lot of these people saying, this was organized crime, even down to these escorts. Again, they were being paid for more than just sex. These people were playing roles. They were role playing. And I think that that is an element that should be considered. Were you being paid specifically for the illicit sex, or were you a part of some role playing ritual? And again, everybody may, disagree with this, but again, this is Satan's world. It's no mystery that Diddy was caught up in sex cultism. People who dealt with him knew he was involved in sex cultism and all kinds of deviant lifestyle. And yet many of these people chose to have dealings with him because they wanted to either be eclipsed by his success and fame or have some kind of financial gain. And when that well ran dry, and especially with Danity Kane, some of these people coming out, they did not have a career. Not one bad boy artist that came out, at least when I was growing up and listening to bad boy artists, where are they now? I don't even know how Danity Kane really charted. But regardless, Diddy can only go so much in helping somebody with their career, and then they're going to have to step up and actually do the work and get people to like them. And so I think there's a lot of people who are maybe bitter. They feel screwed over by him. Maybe he cut them off. And now this is just retribution. But some of these people, they're not proving RICO charges. They're not. They're proving domestic violence at best, but this is not what the federal case is about. And even down to the escorts, right? Were they being paid specifically for sex, or was there more involved in that? And, again, I don't see a case where the man is going to spend the rest of his life in jail. Does he deserve to spend the rest of his life in jail? Yes. But some of these charges are not going to stick. They don't make any sense to reasonable people. And especially when you're going into the intent of some of these people who are pushing out testimony, right? I'm pretty sure if you dealt with Diddy, and again, all of that is a choice. You got to apply to the job of a monster to be able to work with the monster, right? I'm definitely not absolving some of these people of their responsibility to report crimes that they were involved with or witnessed. They didn't do that. Even down to Cassie being beat up and all that stuff like that. Where's the crime reporting on it all the time? People said that they saw it, but they were like, I was just too scared to say anything. But you still work with dude. You saw him beating on that girl and you were still working with the dude. So what does that say about you and your character ultimately? And if people are like, well, I didn't say anything because I was scared for my career, that's your own damn fault. Because nothing should be more important than your ethics, your morality, your pride and dignity. And again, people are willing to do anything for money. And we see this now. So you guys let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm not bending on holding everybody accountable for some of this stuff that's going on in this trial. The feds are accountable because they were protecting Diddy up until the point that he sued Diageo. Then obviously, boom, this dude is going down, right? He's getting coordinated against to be taken down, right? He's a burned asset, right? But this guy was protected. Cassie was protecting him. A lot of those people were protecting him in various different ways. The feds were protecting him. There was a lot of people behind the scenes that he had access to in the legal system that could make things go away for him. I mean, he had the star treatment truly up until the point he started suing the wrong people, the wrong conglomerates. And now he's getting the takedown. Does he deserve to be taken down to the degree that he is right now? Yes, yes, yes. Diddy definitely deserves it. But at the same time, is it all justified? I mean, and then why are we absolving some of these people who were directly involved with some of these activities just because they now have this victim title and they're like, well, I was made to do this, even though in several instances you see where the person wasn't chained or held against their will. Cassie had some autonomy to be moving and starting new relationships in the process of Diddy doing a lot of things. And I'm just like, some wounds are self-inflicted. That's all I gotta say. But anyways, y'all can look at this from this surface level thing. I look at things in the accountability lens of everybody involved. And this just goes back to the ungodly people of the world, which we have way more of those than godly people, right? They will look at this woman as a victim, even though she herself was participating in very disgusting things. And even there was one guy that was suing not just Diddy, but he was suing Cassie as well. Why would he be suing Cassie as well if she was a victim and made to do all this stuff? Cassie herself said that ketamine was her drug of choice. Now you're hearing a victim who was saying that she had a drug of choice to help her absolve herself of the shame of the activities that she was doing, right? Some people, they get drunk, they get inebriated, they use drugs so that it makes it easier for them mentally to do the things that they know compromises their morality and integrity. They do it. People use that drugs and alcohol as a way to muster up their boldness to do things that they're not necessarily comfortable with doing on a sober moment. So anyways, y'all let me know what you think. I'm going to keep following this case. Again, I think that he's innocent. I have to reiterate this for the slow people. No, I don't. But I don't think that everybody who's making allegations are guilty as well. So let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.